Welcome back, guys. It's been a little bit. We are here again. We're still alive. Life kind of got crazy. My schedule got very off track. Anyway, but we are here with a very sweet video today. So I was hired to do this painting, supposed to capture sort of like a hug from heaven. So basically the idea is there's a silhouette of the lost loved one, and in the silhouette, instead of it just being like a plain black silhouette, there's stars all in it, and it shows them, giving a hug to the loved one that's still here. This was a very sweet project and close to my heart, because it was involving my grandma. So last year, in February, I lost my grandma on my mom's side, and we have definitely been missing her. She was a really amazing lady. She was quite the good example of a very loving, God-fearing woman. She had health problems for the past several years, and last year in February she had her last battle. Anyway, so one thing about her, one of the many wonderful things about her, was she had sort of a quiet strength, and she would show how much she cared for you always. She'd do it in different ways, but there are some times where it was almost like she could just kind of give you strength. I remember one time in particular, I was having a very rough struggle, and I had gone over to my grandma's house, and we had stayed the weekend, and Sunday morning I was getting ready for church, and I was so stressed. I was a wreck, and I was trying to do my hair, but I was crying the whole time. Well, I heard my grandma coming down the hall. At this point she had a walker, and she always had slippers on that scuffed on the hardwood floor. And so I heard her coming down the hall. I'm like, okay, you gotta pull yourself together before she sees you crying like this. Well, of course, I was unsuccessful. And instead of just going on past, she kind of stepped in the room where I was, and she was looking at me. She's like, it's gonna be okay. And I told her, I was like, yeah, I know, but right now it doesn't really feel like it. And she was like, it's okay, honey. She's like, God's got you, and he's going to get you through this. And then she just stood there and gave me a hug. And, of course, I cried a little more. But that was one of my really special memories of my mama, because that was just a moment where I realized how strong her faith was. And I had seen it throughout the years, but that was one time where I really felt it. It was really awesome to me. So anyway, it was an honor for me to get to paint this, representing my grandma giving one of my aunts a hug. And so I got to play around with the background. You can see I tried to incorporate some blues, and here is the design that we're putting on it. The person on the left is supposed to represent my grandma. I really wasn't too sure about how to transfer this on there, but then I just sketched it out on paper, and I cut it out, and then I put it on here, and then I traced around in black paint. I originally, before I added like the blues and stuff to the background, I had it closer to a black paint. Like, okay, this is not going to look good. This is not going to pop at all, because we need a black background for the stars. Like, this is gonna just blend in. It's not gonna look right. So I added some stuff to make it look more like a sky effect. Anyway, so it's interesting to me how different the techniques are to, like, transfer stuff like this. Sorry, my brain totally lagged there. But a lot of people will do, like, projection, where they'll, set up a projector or whatever, and they'll have the image shot out onto the surface that they're painting on, and they'll trace over it that way. And then on paper, I've done the method where you put charcoal on the image on the back of the image that you want to transfer, and then you put it on the piece and sketch over it, but that wouldn't really work for this. So this was the best I could come up with, and it worked well for me. I did not think about the fact that some of the paper would stick to the painting, but at least it got covered in paint. So another thing that I want to say about my grandma, she loved horses. She grew up owning horses and riding horses. We actually have a picture of her standing on one of her horses' backs. And so that was an area that we connected with, like, me and my sisters connected with my grandma, was because we had horses. And so whenever she would come to our house, she would, we'd take her to the back pastures to see the horses. And then whenever we'd come over for horse shows, she'd always be interested to hear about how we did, or, what all we did. She'd be interested to hear anything we told her about the horses. And she also had, pardon that weird angle that you just saw of my face. That caught me off guard. Anyway, we would talk about the horses, and then she would show us the pictures that she had from all of the horses that she owned when she was younger. And then she would tell stories about them. And one of the horses was... Now, hopefully I get this right. One of the horses used to be in a bunch of, like, parades and stuff. The girl that owned the horse before my grandma would do a lot of, like, events and, like, parades and fancy stuff. So she had trained this horse how to prance. And so my grandma would get out there and ride just for fun, and she'd, kind of show off the trick that her horse knew how to prance. And then she would tell about a little pony that they had. And she also told about a horse that her brother was, like, the only one that could really ride her. And this horse was really scared of people. And she would come back, like, from a ride, and she'd be shaking and sweaty. But my grandma developed a little bit of a bond with her. She would go out and she would feed the horse sugar cubes. And she wouldn't press the horse for anything. She would just go out there and be with it. And she let the horse get more and more used to her. And over time, she was able to start sitting on the horse. And then she was able to start riding the horse. And one day her dad told her, or he told her brother, hey, go get the horse. Well, her brother went out there and he could not get that horse. He would try and he could not get it. So my grandma was like, well, hey, let me try. And her brother was like, oh, no, if I can't get her, you can't. Well, she just went out there and called the horse, and the horse came right to her. Anyway, but I remember not too long before my grandma died, I think it was either the year before or 2 years before she died, she had come out to my parents' house, and I took her to the back pastures on a side-by-side to go see the horses. And she was sitting there just looking at them, and it was awesome to see her admire them. And they'd come up to her, and she'd pet them on the muzzle, and it was just something that made me realize, like, even though she didn't have horses, anymore, she still loved them so much. And it just kind of, I don't know, it gave me a glimpse of, like, all the stories she had told me. And, like, I can easily imagine her going out there and just winning over that horse. Anyway, so back to the painting. You can see the silhouette in the stars is done. I had such a struggle getting the big stars to cooperate. And then I had a hard time picking a color for the shirt on the girl, because I didn't want to do pink and I didn't really want to do blue because there's so much blue in the sky. And I did not want to do yellow because that was way too loud. So I settled on this green. And I'm still not sure if I like this green or not. But it's done. I can't go back and change it. So it's going to have to do. And then the hair that I'm about to start working on was difficult for me to do because this girl is supposed to have black hair to resemble my aunt. And my aunt has rather curly hair. Like, how in the world am I going to capture that on this piece of canvas whenever her head is against the already black silhouette and the dark sky? It was stressful and concerning me. But we got it to work. I wound up adding some dark browns in there to kind of bring it a little bit of depth. And thankfully the black was able to kind of contrast against the white stars. So anyway, this was a very fun project. I had to test myself though, because I am very used to drawing things small. So to draw things on a larger scale, I really have to push myself. And so, like, with the fence that I did, that was way bigger than anything I've ever drawn. And so I really had to push myself. And this I had to push myself too, because I kept making it, when I was sketching it out for the pattern, I kept making it too small. So I had to redo it like 3 different times. But I finally got it. And I finally got a good size. I had to actually grab the wood panel that I painted it on and, like, put the sketchbook paper on it and then mark, like, where I needed to stop in height and where I needed to stop in width. Anyway, I think it turned out nice. I feel like if I did it again, I could do it better. But I do like the way it came out. And when I gave it to my aunt, she really liked it. And so that's all that matters. I feel like I have really jumbled the storytelling and all of the commentary in this video, so please forgive me for that. Anyway, I hope to see y'all in the next video, which I am super excited about. And I'm going to be trying to play around with some of the editing, so we will see if I change much at all. But, yeah. Anyway, I'm just finishing up a couple things, and then it'll be done. I'm just shading in, trying to add, like, details around the hands. I nearly forgot that part, but thankfully I remembered, like, at the last minute. Anyway, so I will show you the finished product in just a second. And I hope y'all have a great evening or rest of your day, whatever time you're watching this. Yeah, I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope to see you at the next video. Bye, guys.